Good afternoon, folks. I'm back with it again. I have been diluting this all day, slowly. I left off with where I was suggesting you start any dilution, any recipe of soap, to not follow dilution rates, not follow charts. Don't even bother weighing your soap paste because that's just a hassle right there. Start out with between 4 to 8 ounces of water and just add it in, stir it up, and then, add another 4 to 8 ounces and then go from there. With this, as I mentioned, this being coconut oil, a coconut oil soap, and coconut oil being a bit more difficult to dilute, and it being pretty dry and stiff to begin with, excuse me, I went ahead and I added my 8 ounces of boiled water first, my boiled purified water, and then I kind of stirred it up a bit, got things started, and then I added another 8 ounces to that, and then went in 4-ounce increments from there. I'm up to 34 ounces of water to my average of about 24 ounces of paste. I'm using a potato masher now because I'm using it to help me mash up the smaller pieces that are in here. That'll help them dissolve. I don't want to add more water unless I know absolutely that I need it. And the way for me to be able to tell that is to do a drip test. A drip test is when you take a cold glass and literally just stick it in your freezer, get it chilled really quick, and then you drizzle some of the hot soap onto the cold glass. And what that's going to do is it's going to cause the soap to seize up a bit. It's basically going to cool it down really, really fast, closer to a room temp, so you can get kind of a snapshot of what your soap's viscosity or thickness is. And that'll pretty much tell you, well, okay, if this is if it's still runny, then you have too much water. If it's so thick that the soap can't move, or it's still like a glob, like you can wipe it off the glass and it just sits on your finger like a blob, then you need a little bit more water. And then, of course, if it's just the right kind of viscosity where it runs on the glass, but it doesn't like run like water, I guess that's the best way I can describe it, and then you've got it good. It's pretty much left up to you, what you want, your judgment, and all that. I had also used alcohol to help me dilute. This is 91% isopropyl alcohol. Big old bottle I got from the Walmart pharmacy section. I use that to help me dilute because for some bloody reason, alcohol helps dilute everything a lot better, a lot faster. It is a solvent. So it helps dissolve things a lot faster. And plus, I'm going to be honest with you, I know my soap was naturally clear to begin with. I know I've done everything right, and I know it was going to be naturally clear. The clarity test that I demonstrated earlier proved that. It's just that, I wanted that extra security of having the clarity. And I'm going to cook most of, if not all of the alcohol out of it anyway. It's 91% alcohol. That's going to evaporate. It's evaporating out just sitting here in the crock. I have my crock at high heat right now just because I need that heat to make things move, to make it go faster, to help dissolve. So, you don't have to use alcohol. That's my preference. I know what it can do, and I know how to use it. I didn't use any specific amount. I squirted it in, and squirted it in until I was done. The alcohol also helps cut down on bubbles. I have a little spritz bottle full of it right here. As you see, they're disappearing a little bit. So you can actually start to see what's going on in there. Squirting the alcohol into the soap also helps break up the internal bubbles. Because if you pulled this layer of film aside and you look down into it, it doesn't look clear. And the reason that is because there's a lot of bubbles left in there. And the alcohol helps break those up too. It brings them up to the surface so they can be popped. But that's the only thing affecting this right now. It looks like I've got all of my large pieces out of the way. I'm mushing and mashing. I'm going to scrape off this little bit of soap off this, you know, potato masher. That definitely helped. I just mash, and swirled it. And mash. Don't use a stick blender to help you break up this stuff. That's just going to agitate it so much. It's going to be super foamy. And that's such an aggravation, just getting all those bubbles back down. I mean, you know, there are some folks who are like, oh, just scrape it off and throw it away. Don't do that. That's actually soap. That's usable soap. That's just been agitated up and formed into bubbles. If you break those bubbles back down, break down the surface tension, the soap will break back down into the rest of the batch, and then you'll have more soap. If you've ever, you know, like you look at your shaken up Coke bottles or Pepsi or whatever soda you've got. You're shaking up soda bottles, and like you pour some soda into a glass, and you see that it starts out with nothing but foam, and as the bubbles pop, more soda comes up, and it actually starts filling with soda rather than bubbles. So think of it that way. Don't scrape off the bubbles and throw it away. Don't scrape off the film or anything and throw it away. That's soap. It's usable. Just help it go back to normal. That's it. It takes a little work. Liquid soap can be very easy if you're patient and you figure out what you need to do. I mean, it took me a while to figure out a lot of this stuff. I've had some failed batches. But now that I am 2 years into making soap, exclusively liquid soap, I know better, and I'm willing to share. So, you know, nobody else has to make those same mistakes. I've seen people give up or be close to giving up on liquid soap because they have all these mistakes. And it's like, oh my God, don't give up. This stuff's not easy, you know, right out the gate. Anyways, you know, I'm noticing that my camera is sideways for some weird reason. I wonder why. I noticed that when I did a playback earlier. Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and scrape the stuff off this. I'm going to go put a little glass in the freezer so it can be chilled really quick. I'm pretty sure this is still going to be super thick, but I'm going to test it anyway just so you can see what I'm talking about. And then I will add a little bit more water if I need to. Alright, be right back. Alrighty, so I went ahead and transferred this out of my crock pot because my crock pot's not heating fast enough for my liking. Well, it is a slow cooker, so, you know, what do I expect? And I was trying to cook out the alcohol that I'd added into this. I don't want alcohol left in it, just because I don't like the smell. And I don't want this any more harsh on my skin than it's going to be when I have to, like, do laundry or wash dishes with it or clean with it or whatever. So yeah, I've been popping it in the microwave for about a minute at a time just to cook the alcohol out, because the alcohol will cook out faster than the water that's in it. So I'm not worried about losing water. Still smells like alcohol, so there's quite a bit in there, I think. And of course there's a little floaties because it's exposed to the air and it's developing the skin. But I'm going to go ahead, pull out my glass out of the freezer, and do a quick, dribble test. See, there's my glass, just took it out of the freezer. I'm gonna dribble, 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 dribble. Let's see, how does that work? And it's running down the sides a little. Try it a different way. I just dribbled it on. Take a spoonful with thingy bits. There we go. Let's see. How does that work out? This is also good for helping you to definitely determine your clarity. That looks pretty good. It's a little runny. So, yeah, that's a lot runny, actually. Oh, but the soap is damn. Pardon my French, but wow, the soap was still quite warm on that. So that wasn't even accurate enough. The soap is super hot, so maybe it cooled the glass down a lot faster, or warmed the glass a lot faster than the glass could cool it down. So, yeah, this is going to be a little tough. But that's how you do it. My battery is running low, so just one quick note, and then I'm going to keep working on this on my own accord. When you're diluting and you're down to almost nothing left in it, you know, maybe a tiny little piece here or there or whatever, and you notice that, hey, it's still developing a skin, and every time I move the skin, the chunks get bigger. What do I do? What do I do? And people say, add more water. That means you're right at that spot where if you add just a little bit more water, then it'll stop doing that. No, that is not true. I'm going to tell you why. If you add more water to that soap, it will be over diluted. I guarantee you. That is another complaint that I've seen from a lot of people who have PM'd me asking me what they need to do to fix it, is that they see the skin and, you know, the skin builds up as they're moving it around in their bowls and pots, and, you know, people tell them, you know, add more water. So here is the thought about this. You know how you have your pump of soap, hand soap next to your sink in your bathroom, and, you know, there are the messy lot that don't keep the tip of the pump clean, and you have that little dry, caked on bit of the hand soap on the tip of the pump? Why do you think it's like that? Now, I'll give you one word. It's called evaporation. The water that is in that hand soap has been evaporated out of that little sample of the hand soap that's exposed to the air. Basically, the surface of your soap, when you don't have the lid on or towel or something covering it, the surface of your soap is exposed to the cooler air. The cooler air is evaporating the surface of the soap, creating the skin, and as you're moving it around, it's still evaporating and the skin is building, and then you end up with this chunk of soap. Okay? So what you need to do is quit fluffing with it. Put the lid on, you know, check on it, stir it up like you need to, put the lid on, leave it alone. If you feel it is diluted to where you want it, and this, you know, when you find that the skin is forming, transfer it to your closed container, your storage container. Go ahead and transfer it to that. And then cap it off and leave it and let it cool down. It'll eventually do its final thickening because, you know, it's cooled down and physics stops playing with your soap. And, you know, like I said, you know, the point of the drip test, the cooled surface of the glass on the hot soap, cooling the soap down, thickening it up, blah, 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 blah. I'm trying not to repeat myself. But anyways, or if you don't feel like you want to put it in the storage container quite yet, just put the lid on the soap and let it cool. And then, you know, just take it off the heat, let it cool. Come back to it and stir it up a little bit, because that skin is still going to form a little bit, because, you know, your lid is not airtight, but it's less likely to form. You see that little thin bit of a skin, just stir it back in, because the soap is still hot. Stir it back in. That's all you got to do. Just stir that back in, put the lid back on it, leave it alone. Come back to it a couple hours, like just in passing even. You don't even have to think about it at that point. Unless you're neurotic like I am and you have to think about it. Just cap it off, let it cool, check on it ever so often. Once it's fully cooled, stir in the last little bit of that skin. Or you can just pull it out and set it to the side and dilute it separately in a small amount of water and then add it back into the rest of your batch. Because at that point, it's cooled down and it is at its final thickness. There's nothing else you need to do. Nothing else you need to worry about. That's my thought on it. And it's not just a thought, it's common sense. I mean, like, look at your ketchup bottles, okay? Like, for the people who make, like, the messes on the ketchup bottles and jelly bottles. Look at that. Okay, yeah, granted, it's in the fridge. It's going to harden up a whole lot. In fact, in the fridge, it's going to harden up a whole lot because of the cold. But aside from that, that cold air blowing over that ketchup and that jelly that's dried on the outside of the cap, it's exposed to air. It's evaporating what water is in it. And so that's why it's dried and caked on and gross and sticky and what have you. The cold air just makes it worse. So, and you know, this is not I'm not the only one who thinks this, in all honesty. There was actually another forum group member that found out, I don't want to say the hard way, but she kind of, I guess, did a little experiment or something where she took a glass or a cup or something, a container with some of her soap in it, and she just let it sit out for a couple weeks. No lid on it, nothing. And eventually it was a puck. It was a hard puck sitting in that container because all the water evaporated out of it just about. Whereas, you know, if you had the lid on it, that wouldn't have happened. So that's my final thoughts on dilution. Do it slowly, 4 to 8 ounces at a time, initially, for like the first 2 pours of water, 1 or 2. And then after that, just 4 ounces at a time. Reduce it to 2 ounces at a time if you're getting to the point where you're almost there, you're almost done, but you just need a smidge more, okay? I think that's it. Like I said, I just need to cook the alcohol out of this because I don't want it in there anymore. I'm done using it. It has helped me do what I need it to do. And then I will bottle this up and put it away, and any chunks or skin that may have formed during this process, they will dissolve back into this later on. This is also the time, folks, where you check the pH of your soap, okay? Your final pH. You take a sample out of your bowl, you set it to the side and cool it off. Your pH is more accurate when the soap sample is cooled, okay? If you want to speed that up a little bit, put it in the freezer, flash cool it, take your pH readings. If you're using the phenol drops, just drop it right into that sample. If you're using your pH meter, just set your meter into it. Just make sure your meter is calibrated properly for alkaline readings. If you have a 2-point calibration or calibrated meter. If you're using test strips, please, 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 I beg of you, get the good ones, lab grade test strips for pH, the cheap ones, the little litmus paper, and boy, I can't remember that one common brand that comes in like a little dispenser roll that I see everybody having. Those aren't good. They're very cheap. Those readings can be off as much as 2 points. And so your soap will read, you know, an 8 or a 9, but it's really like a 9 or a 10 or even an 11. That's not good. So anyways, my battery is dying. I'm gonna go plug this baby back in, and I'm done here. I hope you all understand. what I've explained. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Bye. Folks, or yeah, morning. Just wanted to, I guess, give you the quick update. I said that the last bit of the video was done and everything, but actually it's not. I just wanted to show you what it looks like. This is the coconut oil liquid soap. Unfortunately, and this is something that I've seen a lot of complaints on about this particular soap, it's very watery. I don't like it. I don't like coconut oil soap. This is actually my first time making a straight water method coconut oil soap. I've done one as glycerin method before, and I really liked it. Definitely had a lot more viscosity than this, and I actually cooked so much water out of this. It was ridiculous. Like when I weighed this, the scale said that this was 45 ounces, and I know I put 45 ounces of water in that coconut oil soap paste. So that means I cooked out like half the water, and it's still really watery. And that or my scale's wrong. One of the two. I don't know. Because it was supposed to be about 24 ounces of paste, roughly. And now I'm wishing I weighed it. I'm really wishing I weighed it so I could get an accurate amount. But oh well. You live and learn. I normally don't weigh my paste. I just add water to it as I need it. It's funny. This is my first time making a coconut oil soap, and I've been soaping for 2 years. I've mostly been making blends. So, you live and you learn. My very first soap was Castile. So, I've made single oil soaps before, just not a coconut oil one. But yeah, it does clean very well. So, that I can definitely attest to. Lots of bubbles because of the naturally occurring fatty acid chain called lauric acid that occurs in coconut oil. When converted into a soap, it is a good cleanser. Very, very good cleansing. This is clear. It is absolutely clear. The bottle is just, oh yeah, it's just mostly the bottle that makes it look murky. And if you look really closely, maybe you can see it. Probably not. But there are like little micro bubbles in it as well, so that impedes the clarity. Excuse me. As far as the coloring, that is the natural coloring. And this is, for, you know, the soap I have, this is concentrated, so that coloring is that yellow because it is considered concentrated. Don't ask. It's gah. I'm not using any thickeners in this. That's a waste. Like I said, this is just for cleaning. So maybe next time I will just keep the soap as a paste and dilute as needed. Oh, maybe. At least for the laundry detergent, since I add water to that further anyway, so I can have, you know, 2 gallons of detergent. Anyways. That's it. This is done. That's the end of the road. I mean, look, it's pretty clear right there. Look, right there in the handle. That's pretty cool. So you can see how clear this can get when it's not so overly concentrated. Like, say if this were like in a smaller bottle or something, then yeah, it'd probably look like that. I don't know. It looks good. I'm happy with it. As far as, you know, this type of soap is concerned. There we go. Your water method coconut oil soap.
buck stops here, guys. So if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. I'm not a very personable person. I'm very camera shy. And I suck at teaching, like the verbal teaching thing. So if I jumped all over the place, I'm so sorry. I did the best I could, and I hope you all understood or gained some information out of what I shared. And I'll do my best to clarify if it's needed. Also, you know, just in case somebody asks, you know, where I got this bottle from, I got it from Walmart. I want to say it's in the Tupperware section at Walmart. Like the really fancy Tupperware, not the cheap stuff. But it might not be that section. It might actually be... We have a canning section in our Walmart, so it might actually be that section. But anyway, it's in the housewares section of Walmart. You're just going to have to cruise the aisles and look for it. Yeah, 2.2 liters. That's how much it says it holds. So it says 74 ounces. Or whatever. I think it probably holds more than that. I've put 74 ounces of soap in here, and I got it up to, like, that line. I don't know. But anyways, that's it. Trying to make sure I didn't forget anything. Yeah, that's totally it. Totally it. I didn't throw away anything. Like, if there were little bits of soap, I actually just put them separately because they wouldn't mash down very easily, and they were still floating in the bottle, so I dumped it all out, took those little pieces and dissolved them separately, just a little bit of water, and then added it back into the batch. I don't like throwing away. Some people get impatient, and they're like, I'm done, and they'll take out the chunks and just throw it out. I'm too neurotic for that crap. I don't like wasting stuff, especially when these materials are not cheap. They're not cheap at all. So, anyways, that's it. Here's my clear soap.